told her it was impossible.
She ran for equality.
She ran for change.
She ran with a purpose.
I run because she showed us we could.
I didn't feel what I was doing at Boston was any breakthrough.
That day produced, I think, one of the great moments in sports ever. It was the birth of Kathrine Switzer as a symbol of women in sports.
Oh, this coffee is criminal.
Honey, you killed the petunias.
Then you admit it. Your coffee really is murder.
Papa eating my coffee, it's murder. It's either too bitter or too weak.
Try Folgers. Never bitter, never weak, always nice and rich. Because Folgers coffee is mountain grown.
Mountain grown?
Like the sign says. Mountain grown for richer flavor. Mountains is where the best coffee comes from.
Well, all right.
You know, it's a crime not to have delicious coffee like this all the time.
We will, now that I've discovered the mountains. Ooh.
Folgers Coffee, mountain grown for richer flavor.
America in the 1960s was a time filled with gender inequality. Discriminatory practice based on the ideologies of men being superior were accepted, dismissing the relevance of women on a broad scale. Whether this be seen through the realms of a workplace environment or the sporting community, women were withheld from opportunity and trapped within the shadows of society. This discourse of time was trending in a demeaning manner, and it would take a major event to shift the ideologies on gender equality. This is where Kathrine Switzer made her impact. Kathrine Switzer was always a motivated individual, wanting to be seen in the spotlight rather than the sidelines. Developing a passion for running at an early age, Kathrine was withheld from the opportunity to compete on the basis of discriminatory practice. Attending Syracuse University in the 1960s, Kathrine quickly caught the eye of the coach of the men's track team and was invited to participate within their practices. As there was no official running team for women at this time, Switzer was missing the competitive nature of sport and sought after a way to attain this. For many years, the Amateur Athletic Union, sports governing body, told women that they were not welcome to participate in the competitive environments of long-distance running. Not letting this deter her drive, Kathrine continued her search for an opportunity to run within competitive measures. Discovering that the Boston Marathon did not have any gender-specific restrictions within their rulebook, Kathrine aimed to compete in the race. Finding the loophole, Switzer decided that she would train to compete in the 1967 Boston Marathon. Quickly realizing that no woman had ever competed in the race before, she took tremendous precaution in her disclosing of her gender, filling out her application non-specified as KV Switzer. Despite being told that women were not capable of competing, Switzer was determined to compete in the race on a stance of gender justice. Competing in the 1967 Boston Marathon, it was about 2 miles into the run when the press bus came honking behind Switzer. Carrying reporters from various news headlines, the race director, Jacques Simple, was also on the bus, quickly spotting Switzer. Outraged with anger, Jacques jumped down from the bus and ran at Kathrine in aggression, grabbing her and screaming for her to get out of his race. Managing to get loose from the director's grips and keeping her running number intact, Switzer's boyfriend then hit the man so that she could continue her run. Completely distraught, Switzer used this altercation as fuel for her run, completing the remainder of the race within 4 hours and 20 minutes. This was a breakthrough for gender equality as Switzer became the first ever woman to compete in the Boston Marathon, proving that women were capable of athletic competition. This changed the way that people viewed women in sport, making Switzer a notable activist within the women's rights movement. Following Switzer's completion of the Boston Marathon, women from all over the world view this as a breaking point, beginning to challenge the cultural norms of gender in sport. Progressively, women began competing in sports that were traditionally viewed as male-only competition, following the path paved by Switzer. Examining Switzer herself, she had vowed to create opportunities for women within running, a chaotic start which eventually resulted in global change for women. Pioneering the running revolution, Switzer's first step was to get women officially accepted into the competition of major marathons. Next, she partnered with Avon to create global women's-only races, encouraging women to be empowered through their running. She describes it as a social revolution that has the scores of members and clubs worldwide and their support of an international sponsorship with Adidas. The Avon International Running Circuit grew to 400 races in 27 countries for over 1 million women, and along with Kathrine's tireless lobbying, was a main factor in getting the women's marathon into the Olympic Games for the first time, seen through the 1984 Los Angeles Olympics. Looking at Switzer's impact within North America, it is believed that she influenced the creation of Title IX within intercollegiate sport. A college graduate of Syracuse, Switzer was never granted the opportunity to compete within an intercollegiate context, as her school did not support the female involvement within sport. Following her participation in the Boston Marathon, Title IX was passed partially due to her influence on policymakers to enforce this law. Passed in 1972, Title IX enforced the equal opportunity amongst both male and female athletes within the NCAA school system. This was granted in all aspects from funding to sport participation and even scholarship opportunities. In sum, every opportunity must be given to every gender, eliminating the divide between sexes.
We used to sit on the sidelines. We used to only be spectators. We were overlooked, undervalued. We weren't seen as profitable, as interesting. Not worth the investment. Then, everything changed.
No person in the United States
shall, on the basis of sex,
be excluded from participation.
From participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected
to discrimination under any education program
or activity
receiving
federal financial assistance.
37 words that changed everything.
Throughout this semester, we have focused heavily on the academic theories of Harvey, Rail, and Toit regarding their considerations to the various spheres of globalization. Through the different lenses, we were able to clearly identify Switzer's impact for women in relation to these spheres on a global scale. As Harvey, Rail, and Toit state, social significance can be the bonds or relations between people because of the values, issues, and beliefs that individuals feel towards society, and that leading to social movements. In the case of Switzer, her impact at the Boston Marathon served as a tool to unite women around the world to come together, with aims to end the stigma that men are stronger and more capable than females. This ultimately made a social impact, as according to Times Magazine, 57% of participants who ran the Boston Marathon in 2015 were women. Looking at this today, there are now more women participating in overall running events globally than men, as last year, 9.7 million women alone partook in the North American races. The other sphere discussed by Harvey, Rail, and Toit is that of a cultural sphere. As stated, globalization at the cultural level also involves the emergence of certain elements of common ethos and of shared values by an increasing number of individuals with sense of shared destiny. Switzer's cultural impact consisted of the drive and determination to run with a purpose in pursuit of equality, hoping that her actions at the Boston Marathon would have influence to culturally impact change on a global scale. The photograph taken of her struggle during the event told a significant storyline on the notion of equality, with the popularity of the picture spreading the message on a globalized scale. Following the Boston Marathon, Switzer continued her efforts with consistent feminist movements, leading to the inclusion of women's marathons to the Olympics. Switzer has since become a cultural icon, opening up to the joy of physical activity by running on a globalized scale. Therefore, from a cultural sphere, we can undoubtedly say that she helped change the culture of sports forever. When looking at Switzer's economic significance on a global scale specifically, we believe that she had a huge impact for sport organizations that target women for revenue generation. Reasoning behind this is because she was able to gather women and stand up for what she knew was the right thing. She knew that gender should not play a factor in one's ability to participate in sport, so she did what she could to produce change. Due to Kathrine Switzer's huge success, the amount of profit generation towards women's sport has become drastic. According to Ohio University research, Nike's women's sales growth is outpacing its men's business by 18%, totaling $5 billion in revenue in 2017 alone. This industry analysis proves that women's sport and participation is increasing at a rapid pace, partially due to the initial efforts of Switzer. The more women advocates that are able to speak up and about what they believe in, the quicker sport will become non-gender specific. Prior to Switzer's impact at the Boston Marathon, she was originally from Germany, moving to the United States at an early age. This was a form of voluntary migration, where migrants seek optimal destinations to live and to work. Moving over with her family, much of this was beyond her control, but it ultimately led to the opportunity to create a revolution within women's sports. There were obvious implications with crossing borders and the migratory issues, but it allowed Switzer to surround herself in a gender-discriminatory environment, which she was destined to empower. Moving forward, Switzer's completion of the Boston Marathon led to the recodification of sports, introducing rules and changes to the pace of track. Due to her willingness and determination, running has undergone many significant changes in its format, regulations, and competitions, allowing for women to compete on a globalized context. This created a reconciliation of women's sports in general, seen as a process through which society moved from a divided past to a shared future. This comprises of two core constructs, being ideological aim and the objectives and processes of achieving a desired outcome. Switzer did not know what she wanted to achieve from the race other than the fact that she wanted to compete. As the commotion happened and she was pressured to quit, she pushed forward, realizing that she had to finish the race to prove to the world that women had the capability to compete. Thanks to her strong set mind, women now have been able to run marathons worldwide since then. Switzer also helped globalize sport equality through special interest groups, being an organized group of individuals who come together to mobilize and share resources to effect change in a sector. Initially standing up alone for her cause, Switzer then had many other women in her town come together and rally for change. She believed in all women and knew that gender didn't play a factor in who could or couldn't play sport. Utilizing special interest groups such as her world-renowned Avalon International Running Circuit, Switzer was able to push for equality of women sport worldwide. Overall, Switzer influenced the socio-cultural place of women within sport, meaning how certain sports become as big as they are through a globalized context. Running is as big as it is today, partially because of Kathrine Switzer's determination and attitude seen at the Boston Marathon. She knew she wanted to achieve certain things, but her change ended up changing certain aspects of running on a global spectrum.
If people say your dreams are crazy, if they laugh at what you think you can do, good. Stay that way. Because what non-believers fail to understand is that calling a dream crazy is not an insult. It's a compliment. Don't try to be the fastest runner in your school or the fastest in the world. Be the fastest ever. Don't picture yourself wearing OBJ's jersey. Picture OBJ wearing yours. Don't settle for homecoming queen or linebacker. Do both. Lose 120 pounds and become an Ironman after beating a brain tumor. Don't believe you have to be like anybody to be somebody. If you're born a refugee, don't let it stop you from playing soccer for the national team at age 16. Don't become the best basketball player on the planet. Be bigger than basketball. Believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything. When they talk about the greatest team in the history of the sport, make sure it's your team. If you have only one hand Don't just watch football, play it at the highest level. And if you're a girl from Compton, don't just become a tennis player. Become the greatest athlete ever. Yeah, that's more like it. So don't ask if your dreams are crazy. Ask if they're crazy enough.
The Nike Dream Crazy commercial contains a montage of athletes and individuals overcoming adversity and striving to become their best ever self in sport. In some cases, the individual grows to become even bigger than the sport itself, which is reflective in the case of Kathrine Switzer. The video was narrated by Colin Kaepernick, a retired NFL football player who sacrificed his career in pursuit of racial justice. With racial injustice seen through police brutality in America, Kaepernick leveraged his professional status to raise awareness, kneeling during the national anthem of NFL football games. Sparking a vigorous debate across America, Nike utilized this publicity through the ad to give voice to inequality on a global scale. As a transnational player within the sporting industry, Nike overlays the sacrifice that is required to succeed as an athlete at times, but to never stop pursuing your dreams. This coincides with Kathrine's efforts as a women's activist for sport through becoming the first ever woman to officially run in the Boston Marathon, even as race officials physically tried to stop her. As quoted in the advertisement by Kaepernick, "Don't ask if your dreams are crazy, ask if they're crazy enough." Along with inspirational professional athletes such as Serena Williams, Odell Beckham Jr., and
LeBron James,
the film also includes the likes of other incredible athletes. The athletes include 29-year-old basketball phenom and wheelchair athlete Megan Blanc, who managed to capture gold at Rio in 2016. Isaiah Bird, who was born without legs yet at the age of 10 became one of the best competitors on his wrestling squad. Charlie Jabley, and an Ironman who completely transformed his life by losing over 120 pounds, going vegan, and in the process reversing the growth of a lifelong brain tumor. And Alicia Wolcott, who played linebacker for her high school football team and was also named the homecoming queen during her senior year. Virtually breaking the internet through the official launch of Dream Crazy, Nike has again fallen into the globalized spotlight with the recent release of Dream Crazier. Narrated by women's tennis star Serena Williams, the advertisement shines light on female athletes who have broken barriers just like Kathrine Switzer. Overall, Nike aspires to use this platform to bring people from all cultures together through performance, inspiring the future generations of athletes to come. Looking at Kathrine Switzer today, she is still running an inspiring woman all over the world to be physically active. In 2017, which marked the 50th anniversary of her historic run, she went back and participated in the Boston Marathon at the age of 70. Her social presence within the sporting community is still felt through her nonprofit organization, 261 Fearless. Presently, through her nonprofit organization, she is inspiring and encouraging women and girls to run by organizing non-competitive running clubs, educational programs, private communication channels, and more importantly, a sisterhood to women all over the world. To conclude, Switzer's impact on the sporting community has been made apparent through her drive and dedication towards female equality in sport. Her impact on a global scale leaves a lasting legacy, which will inspire for the future generations to come.
If we show emotion, we're called dramatic. If we want to play against men, we're nuts. And if we dream of equal opportunity, delusional. When we stand for something, we're unhinged.
It's super, it's gonna need to calm down.
When we're too good, there's something wrong with us. And if we get angry, we're hysterical, irrational, or just being crazy. But a woman running a marathon was crazy.
Officials tried to pull her off the course.
A woman boxing was crazy. A woman dunking? Crazy. Coaching an NBA team? Crazy. A woman competing in a hijab, changing her sport, landing a double cork 1080? Or winning 23 Grand Slams, having a baby, and then coming back for more? Crazy, 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 and crazy. So if they want to call you crazy, fine. Show them what crazy can do.